We all know that the controller is important for input to the game you're playing. That's why it's called a controller. Sometimes we have rogue programmers who think it would be a funny or clever idea to make the controls part of the game instead of a mindless way of controlling the game. That challenge is what I call wonky controls. Hi, I'm Darien from Gaming Buzz, and today we're looking at 10 video games with very wonky controls in no particular order. Before we begin, we publish great video game content almost daily, so make sure to subscribe. Human Fall Flat is a very interesting game. In this game, you basically fumble around and grab onto things to traverse levels. It's very hard to describe the whole premise, but I think the visuals will explain the game better than my words can. Using the shoulder buttons and the analog stick to control your arms and the camera, you point the camera in the direction that you want to grab, and, that kind of does it. The walking is traditionally controlled with the left analog stick, but it all feels kind of floppy. A weird and wacky fighting game called Gang Beast is here. Similar to Human Fall Flat in look and feel, this game is about tossing your opponents off the stage, kind of like Super Smash Bros., but with floppy bodies and unpredictable movements. This game lets you grab onto anything for dear life. Just make sure you aren't grabbed. You might go with them. Do you feel crummy in life? Do you ever think that being a piece of bread is your calling? I Am Bread is a game where you are possessed bread? Sliced loaf bread? Bagel? Name the bread. You can complete levels assuming you know how to bread. Different bread controls differently. Slices of bread move basically by flopping around while grabbing with corners. This game's controls definitely make it hard to learn and very hard to master. In the end of it all, make it to the goal while still being edible. Simulations can be difficult because they usually let you do things that you can only dream of. Surgeon Simulator 2013 is a spoof. It could be credited to the whole demise of the serious simulator genre, but this game is a good laugh. You assume the role of a doctor. Your mouse is your hand movement, and various keys that your fingers rest on the keyboard are the fingers you use actively to grip with. It's a mess when you try to pick up and use tools to do organ transplants successfully, but yeah, it's definitely odd. I've got no more words. In Claybook, you're pretty much possessed clay that can possess other clay objects in a clay world. You make impressions and carve out your environment to complete different tasks bestow on you, like filling containers with liquid, carving all of a certain object, etc. There's a lot of things to do. It's a fun game that is extremely wonky to play, as you morph into many shapes and have to adapt to how horrible of a time you will have navigating. This is a wonky game I'd recommend because it's just pretty to look at and a challenge. Hey, how do you make an octopus laugh? You give it 10 tickles! Anyway, Octodad Dadliest Catch is about an octopus who's married to a human lady and have a family with her. The thing is, nobody knows he's an octopus. In this game, you take control of his tentacles that assume to be his legs and a tentacle that assumes to be his arms. This game's selling point is to be wonky, as actually a sequel to a game that is basically the same premise. This one is just more polished. What a treat to be had. Snake Pass was initially an experiment that a programmer at Sumo Digital played with in Unreal Engine to see if he could get a rope object to be able to move and be manipulated dynamically. Definitely shows to be an impressive experiment as they pulled it off and made a full game out of the idea of being a snake. You are a noodle, and you have a hummingbird friend Doodle who can help lift your tail. Aren't snakes just a head and a long tail? I feel like whoever designed a snake just gave up at work that day. Coming off of that tangent, you have to slither like a snake, obviously, but you have to control the entire movement. The controls alone are a challenge as you basically are tasked with a platformer with a unique feeling of slithering through your environment to get gems to open a portal. Want to feel like you have little control over slaughtering a bunch of giant innocent beings? Well, Shadow of the Colossus is the game for you. The controls alone in this game are hardcore wonky. This here is a PS4 remake, which has the choice of modernized controls and the classic controls. For all purposes, I use the classic controls because I'm not able to play the game with the new button mappings because I'm so accustomed to the horrible controls of the original. This game should just show how much the controls fight you. Jumping is awkward, grabbing is awkward, and it doesn't help that you have a stamina gauge. You flop around when you have a hold of a Colossus, and it tries to shake you off. This isn't a fight to defeat the Colossus. It's a fight to tell who owns the controller. You are the game. QWOP? Quap? However you say it, this game is one of the kings of the genre of having purposely wonky controls. Originally released for the web browsers using Adobe Flash, this game uses the Q, W, O, and P keys to control the running dude's legs. I'm not sure how anyone can get good at this game, but a good method is just to jiggle around on his knee and his ankle to get as far as you can. Now imagine doing that in real life. Ouch. You can torture yourself in your web browser playing the original Flash version, HTML5 port, and ports to iOS and Android. May the torture live on. Who thought that climbing and propelling yourself in a cauldron using a hammer was a good idea? Getting over it with Bennett Foddy uses only the mouse on PC. You move it in a circular motion to grab the geometry of the 2D plane to try to get further. Then we have Bennett. He makes commentary when you fall back to a spot that is further back. It's kind of infuriating because it sounds like he's just making it seem like the wonky controls are your problem to overcome. Kind of inspirational, but makes you want to pull out your hair. I'd recommend this game if you really want to challenge yourself and see how long you can get yourself to persist to move on. So that's my list. What do you think? Did I miss any games? Was I way off? Let us know in the comments or on our Discord server what wonky games you have in mind, but I didn't include on the list. If there's a top 10 list you'd like us to do, let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe.